Hi, Polly. Thank you for joining me today. I definitely could use some help coming up with some new ideas.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Helena. This is going to be a lot of fun. When you mentioned this, I thought it was such a challenge, like a very exciting thing for me to do. I went to cooking school for 21 years, so I've seen what people like to cook and how they cook. So I think I can give you some positive input. I started out my whole career in recipe development, so throw it at me.
All right. I mean, it's so hit or miss of what I can find at the market these days that I never know, and everything is so more expensive now too.
I think one of the things you have to try to help yourself do is to be more flexible. And I know you're cooking for 4 people. You have two young girls and your husband and yourself.
Mhm.
So and how is everybody as far as, do they usually like the same things? Or are they pretty open with trying
Mm,
different?
no, we all have different restrictions. So I'm gluten free.
Hmm.
One daughter is a pescatarian, and my other daughter, she really only likes chicken. So I'll tell you some of the things that we usually eat a lot of and that we're really sick of. So we eat a lot of beans. So I tend to make a lot of chili because usually everybody is happy and
Everybody
will
will eat
eat.
that.
Yeah, everybody will eat. We eat a lot of pasta with tomato sauce, black beans, like a lot of rice and beans. We eat a
Yeah.
lot of like tacos and chili and, Italian stuff. So if you basically, any idea with what I have that is not one of those things, it was going to make everybody so happy.
Sure, you're gonna have to open the drawers and let me
All
focus
right.
with this kind of moving. Yeah.
But it's a spinach. So it's mostly fresh spinach in here.
And then what else? So can you express some of that?
Yeah, just fresh spinach and baby red chard, basically, and then with some nuts in there.
So if you make a base, right, and you make a nice flavorful base, and then just divide it in half, and you could do the same. You could do pasta. You could do a pasta dish, and then in one, you could cube up the chicken, right, and then cube it up and lay it in. If you have two, instead of like one big square pan, you'd have two glass dishes, right, little loaf dishes, or two smaller dishes of any kind of casserole dish, and take the dish that you maybe incorporated, make like a spinach and rice. If you have some cheese, you could toss in some mozzarella cheese, right? But then you cut it in half and divide it, and in one dish you're going to incorporate the shrimp. And even if you wanted, you could incorporate it in, and then you could bake that dish. You could cover it and bake it. You wouldn't even have to cook it in a separate pan. And you took cubed up chicken over here, the raw shrimp like that. You could incorporate it together and stick it in the oven for 15, 20 minutes. And not even, probably 15, maybe, a hot oven like 350, something like that.
And I don't have to worry about the shrimp and the chicken cooking at different rates.
If you have the chicken, say, in cubes, no bigger than like 3/4 of an inch cubes, and you toss it in, it's going to start to cook. It'll cook in like 15 minutes. I like things that you finish off in the oven when you're fussing around, because you put them in the oven, then you've got like 10 or 15 minutes, and you can clean up the whole kitchen. And then when you sit down to eat, the only thing that's dirty is that dish,
Yeah.
at the end, and your plates, of course, and stuff like that.
Delicious. I came up the stairs, I was like, whoa.
What do you think is that's something that people don't think to buy, but that's probably available that people aren't buying?
Well, a lot of the greens and stuff in the markets are still available. A lot of the Swiss chard and the all the different, greens, and the dandelion greens are even out now. Those things, you just need to kind of be brave with it and try it. Like the Swiss chard, there's just a little trick. I did a video recently with it. There's just a little trick where you have to take the stems off and chop those finely and cook those a little bit before you add the tops, because they take longer to cook. So once you cook those, you cook them on olive oil, salt and pepper with them, and cook them until they're tender. Then you add the tops of the greens that you've sliced up, and then you cook them. So that's a great way to cook greens. Carrots, carrots are great. If you just oven roast carrots, slice them up into pieces like that. And there's usually seems to be carrots are all around. Cauliflower, I noticed a lot of.
Yes.
And roasting vegetables, to me, is the way to do it. It's so good. You just take your vegetables, cut them in even-sized pieces. It can be, I'm going like that, an inch piece or a little more or less. But cut them up, toss them with olive oil, salt, and pepper, put them in a 400-degree oven. Most of them are done in about 20 minutes. Carrots take about 20 minutes. Broccoli even is great that way. And then Brussels sprouts are great like that. And really, you don't have to get complicated. I think people feel like they have to add a lot of stuff to it, but you really don't have to get complicated to do that. You just, toss it, and the flavor's great.